Good evening and welcome to the CASAA update for the week of 10/19/2015. Hi Alex, how are you this evening?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So tell me what interesting things have been going on this week in the wonderful world of vaping.
Well, actually, I guess all of this started last week. I think it was, I can't remember whether or not we covered this last week or not, but we issued a call to action for Chicago.
Okay.
I'm just going to look it up because I want to get the date right.
Okay.
Let me put this out. The 13th. So, yeah, it was just after our podcast. So I guess we probably talked about this a bit.
Okay.
There's actually a meeting happened today
Okay.
at 1 o'clock. It was a regularly scheduled city council meeting, and the budget was on the agenda for discussion. So I'm sure we'll see some posts, hopefully, at some point. I know that there were some people that showed up to the meeting on the 14th.
Right.
I think Greg Conley even made it out there.
Nice.
But there's a small band of pretty motivated folks in Chicago that made it out. And we're talking about I believe I've heard 25-cent per milliliter tax on e-cigarettes in Chicago. So the other thing is Cook County, which I'm working on this evening.
Okay.
We'll get that out tomorrow. But Cook County, which includes the city of Chicago, is reported to be looking at a 20-cent per milliliter tax on e-liquid. I don't have any meetings that we know that this is going to come up. There's like a little over a half dozen finance committee meetings between now and the end of the month.
Right.
So it's possible, it's likely that this portion of the budget will be discussed at one of those meetings. I just don't have any info on which one.
Okay.
Regardless, I'm going to put up email addresses and everything for people to send a message to county councilors. And of course, what this means is that if you're a resident of Chicago, if both of these budget proposals are passed, in addition to paying your city tax on e-liquid, you will also be paying the county tax. So residents of Chicago kind of get hit twice, and that would be an estimated 45 cents per milliliter.
And that's odd.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, it is. I know it is.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to say that, but yeah, it is. It's very bad.
Yeah. So yeah, Chicago residents have two opportunities here to take action, because you also live in the county, and Cook County people, I got to dig up a whole bunch of zip codes to find, to make sure we get everybody in the Chicago. Is it appropriate to say Chicagoland area? Is that like just all of everything outside of Chicago until you get to, I don't know, Ohio or something?
I think it might be.
Please forgive me for my lack of knowledge about Midwest geography. But anyway, so yeah, Chicago and Cook County are on the table for taxes. The other thing that came out, either I guess it was late last night or today, Utah Smoke-Free Association, formerly Utah Vapers, put out their own action alert, call to action type thing. Anybody who's been following legislation this year, was it SB 415? I really should. I should have done a little bit of preparing here. HB 415. This bill.
Soon these things are just going to be back-to-back calls to action.
Yeah, we'll be there again soon. I think my record was, I think I put out 10 calls to action one day uh, while traveling. Some of them were posted. So, um, so HB 415 passed the Utah State Legislature, and as part of that, the Utah Department of Health is required to promulgate a rule about regulating electronic cigarettes. Now, under normal circumstances where everyone has a certain amount of common sense, this should be something simple like child-resistant packaging, no sales to minors, which I think is already a law in Utah. Basic common sense type of stuff. Instead, the proposed rule goes as far as to require ingredient listing on the labels, which is, not ordinarily a horrible thing, but it's only the state of Utah that's requiring that. And it's not too detailed stuff. I mean, if you're a manufacturer and you're,
Alex?
Yes?
Did I drop out, or did we completely lose Alex from I gone?
No, we're gone.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah.
Okay. So where was I? Manufacturer. Did you? How much did you miss? Where did I lose you?
They would promulgate. Promulgate was the last thing I heard.
Okay, so HB 415 basically requires the Department of Health, the Utah Department of Health, to promulgate a rule regulating electronic cigarettes, and this was based on, oh God, Weber Morgan. Was it Weber Morgan is like a county or some municipality in Utah. Their Department of Health had put together regulations, which was all of HB 415 was kind of based on these rules, and they went as far as to regulate nicotine content, which this does as well. I think it is a little bit more strict. So this does things like requires ingredient listing, which, like I said, ordinarily not a huge deal, but only Utah is doing it. They also have a warning label requirement, which is, it's pretty obnoxious warning label. Nicotine is addictive and poisonous. Keep away from children and pets. If you're just going to keep away from children and pets.
Nicotine is addictive and poisonous. Wow.
And it's, yeah, it's kind of later in the day. I read something about studies done on NRTs.
Is this?
I think Jan's internet connection is just going all kinds of wonky on her.
I don't know. Jan, are you still with us?
Yeah, it seems like John's having issues.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So yeah, I'll get through Utah. I promise. Anyway, it's suffice to say, this call to action is not just for Utah residents. This is also for manufacturers and retailers that do business with people in Utah. But for our purposes, we're mainly concerned with the consumer aspect of this. So I certainly appreciate some of the bullet points that they've put together here. A couple of things to think about in crafting your comment. I guess I should have started all of this by saying the rule is published and there is a comment period, very much like what the FDA does. And you have until November 16th, until at 5 p.m. on November 16th to get your comment in. And you do this by emailing it to Luke Chalmers, and the subject line is comments on proposed rule R384-415. I'm not going to slow down and repeat that. You can go read it on the Utah Smoke Free site. Actually, if you Google Utah Smoke Free, the first page you come to is going to have this action alert. Yeah, so we're probably likely going to put out some sort of complimentary call to action for this, and try to keep it to Utah consumers. But yeah, like I was saying, obviously retailers and manufacturers that are doing business in or with Utah have a pretty big financial stake in how these rules come out. And there's a lot of changes to what your product will look like if these are implemented. And the most egregious thing to me, other than the kind of alarmist warning label, is the nicotine content restriction. You're allowed to go as high as 24 milligrams per milliliter, and there is a maximum nicotine content in a bottle of 240 milligrams. So if you are a high nicotine user like myself, the largest bottle of e-liquid you're going to be able to buy is 10 milliliters, which is not the end of the world, but still, you know, that can be added cost. Why wouldn't you charge a little bit more for a 10 milliliter bottle, so on and so forth, and just perpetuating the myth that nicotine is this magically dangerous substance that just ruins the lives of all children. That is kind of absurd. So that's Utah, and we'll put the link to that call to action in our description. I think that's it. I got a couple of other messages, saw a couple of other things on Facebook. The Tobacco 21 effort is marching right along in Massachusetts. Attleboro, Massachusetts, a small little town outside of Providence, Rhode Island, I believe.
Yeah, I used to spend summers there, so yes, I know where it is.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's a major highway that runs through there. I guess there's some stoplights.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they are within the borders of Massachusetts. So I would assume, I haven't seen any legislation yet, but would assume that this would include electronic cigarettes. I guess that can be a local alert that I'll put on the list. And the other thing, I just got an email about a half an hour ago. Prince George's County, or PG County, in Maryland, is looking at their own indoor use ban. And this actually, there was a hearing on this on the 9th, right. And I don't remember seeing anything about this. So it was a committee hearing. It's been passed out of committee. I believe it has 4 or 5 sponsors on the bill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sponsors out of, I don't know, 10 county councilors. So this doesn't look all that good for PG County. But see if we can put something together for that as well. So in Maryland, you know, there was the state, it was an HB 46 this year that would have prohibited indoor use, or one of the 3 bills, and that died. It didn't go anywhere. And even Baltimore managed to put together a halfway decent indoor use ban that really sounds like it kind of leaves it more up to the business owners as to what they want to prohibit. Maybe I should research that before giving a definitive analysis of that. But I do remember Baltimore did produce a bit of legislation that is a halfway decent example of, you know, not going completely prohibitionist on indoor use.
Right.
So, yeah, but apparently the surrounding counties are just a little bit different.
Yeah. Do you remember me sending you a link on Friday night from Ordinance? It was called Ordinance 85. It was from a place called the City of Red Wing.
I don't remember it.
Okay, it's in Red Wing, Minnesota, and the only reason I'm mentioning this is number 4 on their ordinance list. It changes the definition of smoking to include using a device that vaporizes lobella. Lobella's Indian tobacco.
Okay.
Okay. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is just that I thought it was really interesting because that was something that very old time vapors talked about when I first started vaping about 6 years ago. What if they take nicotine away? What will we use? And people were coming up with different things, and they said, "Well, what about Lobella?" And a bunch of us did try it, and no one really liked it. So we discarded that and threw it by the wayside. I just think it's funny that something that's so old is being brought up in new ordinances. So I just thought I would mention that just as an aside.
Is it a common? I'm not familiar with lobelia or lobella.
It's not. I mean, it's like a tincture. It's like a water. It's an aqueous solution, like something you would make out of herbal tea or something like that. And I guess some people made it with alcohol or whatever. And I do know that it was tried, like I said, about 6 or 7 years ago when I first started vaping, and people just like, yeah, no, this is terrible. We can't do anything with it. So I just thought it was unusual that would show up in an anti-smoking law change. And it was the first time I've ever seen it. So just an interesting aside. Doesn't really mean anything. It's just, I know we talk about just different verbiage and wordage in legislation. I just thought that was something interesting to look at and look out for in the future.
That is interesting. I did see in the PG counties. What was it? I have a agenda item summary.
Right.
Vaporing made it in there. The proposal bill shall simply adds that the smoking or vaporing or electronic cigarettes as an additional unlawful activity.
It's a vaporing?
Vaporing.
Okay.
Vaporers now.
So we've learned a new word. It's a new descriptive word. We're vaporing.
We've learned that lawmakers have very little shame.
I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it for this week.
Yes, for the most part. I'm searching my brain to make sure I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I think those are the big ones for me. Chicago, Cook County, Utah, a couple of local alerts that may or may not get actually taken care of, and new words. Thank you for the new words.
Yay. Thanks, legislators. The call to action to support HR 2058 is still active?
Yes, it is. It's at the top of the list.
All right. So try to get your Congress critter to sign on to be a co-sponsor for HR 2058 if you haven't already done so. Please join us at CASAA.org. Submit your testimonials at the CASAA Testimonial Project. You can find links for that at the CASAA.org page. We are CASAA Media on Twitter and Instagram. We are CASAA Media on YouTube. And we are the We Are CASAA Facebook group, which is the more informal group, as well as the CASAA Facebook page for the official CASAA page. So come on down and join us if you haven't already, and help us to help you save vaping. Have a good night, and thank you for everything you do for us, Alex. I'll speak with you later.
Cool.
Alex?
Yeah?
Before you go, it was absolutely wonderful to meet you in person.
Oh, likewise.
I
so jealous.
Got to meet Alex at VaporCon. It was amazing. Yeah. Super smart guy. But yeah, Alex, thank you for taking time out of your busy weekend to visit with me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no, it was a pleasure to meet you. It's always a pleasure to meet you guys, and yeah, I hope we'll see you guys. I know we've crossed paths at other events, so I'm sure we'll meet again.
Have a great night.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.